So how is it possible to get cheap shipping to the US? Well, there's a couple ways, and as you can see right here, I recently shipped a product for less than $7 to the United States. So how do you get these rates? So I'm going to be talking about different methods on how you can get the cheapest rates and also more expensive rates with better service. Note that these have very different barriers to entry. If you want the absolute cheapest shipping, you're going to have to invest some money up front. But if you want decent shipping prices, then of course you may not have to invest so much up front. And it depends which situation is best suited for your e-commerce scenario. Now let's go into the cheapest method. This one I believe has the highest barrier to entry, but absolutely has the cheapest pricing. Now the reason I say this has the biggest barrier to entry is because you require a lot of front. So let's talk about some of the rates that you can get if you were to do the following. If you were to make a Chinese business account and open a Chinese business inside China, and if you were to find a courier company like EMS or China Post, you will need to sign a large quantity saying I will be able to send at least 10,000 packages a month, whereas the courier will come to your warehouse or your business every day to pick up packages to go overseas. Now this information is quite a bit outdated, but the concept is still the same. Just to give you an idea, if you want to ship something to, let's say, Australia, I know everything's in Chinese, but to like Australia, you can get pricing of 19 RMB per kilogram, which is not that much. Here you can see with the e-packet, let's go with the USA right here, it would cost around 30 RMB per kilogram and maybe some extra fees like 100 plus RMB per kilogram. And this is the absolute cheapest that you'd probably be able to get using a platform like this. They also get pricing like this for like Wish, you can see, and Amazon. They give this pricing to these kind of companies, so you can kind of guess what the volume will be. So if I want to send, let's say, an e-packet, which is a package that's less than 2 kilograms, the drop shipping method, you can see this is the US. The total cost for 1 kilogram or less, the total cost for, in this case, it's an e-packet, so it's 2 kilograms or less, will be about 120 RMB. So what is that in dollars? You say 122 USD, about $16 to ship something of 2 kilograms or less using EMS. And from my experience, this is one of the cheapest methods to actually ship stuff to the United States. But that has a crazy barrier to entry. Let's say you don't want to invest thousands of dollars to open a Chinese business, Chinese bank account, to sign a contract that you may not be able to fulfill with these courier companies. What's the next step? Well, in that scenario, I recommend you use something like a warehouse service or a shipping agent to help you with these services. So in this example, I've used a service like Next Smart Ship. They're essentially a shipping warehouse in China that already has these contracts signed with these couriers. So they already get very, very nice pricing for these kind of shipping services. You can see recently I shipped something for less than $7. Now, granted, this product was like 0.2 kilograms. It was very light, but you can see there's different options that you can ship the product from China to the US door to door. It's a low barrier to entry. You just got to make an account with Next Smart Ship. And I actually have a whole tutorial about how to use this platform if you want to be integrated to like your WooCommerce store, your Shopify, etc., where it can be all automated for your business. Realize that when you do work with these companies, the processing time may not be as fast as you're used to as if you're working directly with the courier yourself, and you get more visibility. However, they already have the contacts and the volume to be able to get this kind of pricing. And specifically in the case with Next Smart Ship, they can give you some consultation services, and they have experience linking to other overseas websites to be able to sell products overseas. I've used them before, and I think their service is decent. The only thing I wish they would improve on is their service times when the product reaches the warehouse to when the product leaves the warehouse. Another way that you can get very cheap shipping to the US is shipping directly from Taobao. Now this would only work on Taobao. It won't work on 1688, but let me show you what I mean. When you find a product on Taobao, there is an option to ship the product overseas. So let's say I want to buy this kettle. So right now I'm going to be ready to check out with this kettle. And actually you can add an address. So I want to add a new address. And in the address here, I can select I want to ship this overseas. Now realize there are limited countries that you can ship this to. to, here, let me translate this to English to make it easier for you guys. But here they have shipping services to the following countries. You have Greater China, then you have Singapore, Malaysia, Australia, New Zealand, USA, Canada, and Japan. So that means that they already have shipping channels to ship to these countries, to include the USA. Now, when you select, let's say the USA, then you'd have to put in the address accordingly. But how does the process exactly work? Well, when you purchase the product, you can select the address that you put to the USA. And after you select that address, then you can go ahead and ship it there. Well, how does the logic work on Taobao? First, Taobao will ship the product to the warehouse. In the warehouse, they will process it, and based on the address you gave them, they will give you a different price to ship it from China to that address in the USA, whatever country you selected. A downside to this is that there are limited countries that support this. So if you have a global company that ships all over the world, this may not work for you. However, if you have customers mainly based in Canada and the US, this is perfect. And they can give you good shipping rates similar to those that you saw in Next Smart Ship. However, you are limited to the products that are sold on Taobao. So if you want to ship the cheapest products like on 168 or maybe even Pinduoduo sometimes, this is probably not suitable because it goes to the Taobao warehouse and everything is automated in the platform. So you still get that buyer protection when you do everything on Taobao. This has a similar logic as I explained with Taobao. They actually give you an address to the warehouse in China that you can put on 168 Pinduoduo with your member code on it. And then when the product arrives at the warehouse, you'll get a notification in your WeChat account saying, hey, your product's in here. They'll say, okay, your product needs to be processed. You tell them, I want to take photos or ship it directly. You have a couple options to either have them open the package, take photos or video, or just ship the product directly, depending on your relationship with the supplier and if you trust them that they'll actually give you what you paid for. And then you go on your way with different shipping methods. Now, the pricing for this one can be a little bit more expensive, but they do provide top tier service in my recommendation. And I have a video tutorial going through step by step on exactly how to use their services if you were so interested. Recently, I had someone use the Kuaizhe platform and it saved them $2,000 because the person they paid, it was via PayPal, not directly, for like a couple high-end shoes that they were promised. But when the products arrived at the warehouse, it was literally an empty package. Because they were using a service like this, they were able to catch it, issue a chargeback or a complaint on PayPal, and they were able to get their money back. So that's why it's very important that when you're using these services, not only do you just want to focus on the cheap shipping, but you also want to focus on making sure they check that the product is accurate based on the specification, the color, the size, etc. before they ship it overseas. So using the service like Kuaizhe is very low barrier to entry. You just need a WeChat account, and once you get used to it one time, you can start using it for the long term. So you have different ways to actually get cheapest shipping rates to the USA as mentioned above. So now you are armed with the tools to get the cheapest shipping rates you possibly can to the USA. If you want to learn in more detail how to use Kuaizhe 56, I suggest you check out this video right here.